Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the March 17th Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 5:30. I'd like to call on Councillor Dornbos to read the land acknowledgement, please.
I would like to acknowledge that the rural municipality of St. Andrews is located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Thank you. Item 3, adoption of agenda. Motion to adopt agenda as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Dornbos, seconded by Councillor Syker. Any additions? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. It's carried. Management reports attached are the management report. Thank you to admin for doing these. Are there any questions on the management reports? Councillor Dornbos?
A question for Mr. Hillies there. In regards to the Parks Creek Bridge, and I know that there was some consultation with West St. Paul in regards to some possible cost sharing. We've never heard anything back on anything from there.
We haven't heard anything back. We originally consulted with them last year, and they have since their CEO has since moved on. So we just still waiting to hear back on the results of that.
Okay, that's why I was asking, because I knew he was gone and I didn't know whether things had changed or not. So, okay, thank you.
Maybe we should ask them again because budget discussions for everybody is coming up.
We could do that.
Yeah, I also have a question for Mr. Hillis. The security concerns at the landfill, how's that going? Are you addressing that?
Well, we're currently looking at improving the internet service there, and that will lead to having improved cameras monitoring going on there, and that's this spring. I guess we're also looking at potentially fortifying, doing physical security there, and improve the signage and everything. But those are all ongoing. Honestly.
Councillor Slater, did you?
I just had one, yeah, for the deputy CAO. I noticed on a few of the other ones that we were in your future with the new phone system, but I don't see it there. Did we get one, or where are we at with the phone?
Well, Valley Fiber did some work last week to put in some of the fiber. So they're coming, I believe, this week or next week to start doing internally what we need internally. So I must have not put it on, but it's ongoing and we're expecting it to be finished, I think, within a month or so.
Very soon, yeah.
Yeah.
Very sure.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Okay.
Councillor Mondar?
I have a question for Mr. Hillius. I've had quite a few complaints over the last couple of years with the smell around I guess the pump station down in the south end there.
Yes.
So
Regarding light, smell, or
well, the lights, we got that taken care of, thank
Yes.
you. But the smell.
Yes.
The smell is I've gone down there and visited some of these people and I wouldn't even be able to sit outside.
Yes.
And to me, that's not acceptable.
Yes.
And I don't think these people should have to live in subjected to that. So I'm hoping that, you know, sooner than later, a solution can be found for that, because I really feel for these people. Like there's a handful of them around there that it's awful.
I agree.
You know, I don't know what it's like by the south fire hall, but the south end pumping station is.
The fire hall is similar. It's not quite as bad, but the River Road one is terrible. I agree with that. So we're monitoring that on an ongoing basis. We've engaged with the design engineer in regards to that, and have gotten nowhere with that. And so in the past, so that was last year. So in the past year, we have taken it upon ourselves to look for industry known solutions for that. And so that's ongoing right now. So it's kind of, we're bringing that to the forefront, trying to come up with a solution. The latest one, we visited other plants, other lift station in the surrounding area that have similar setup. And but they have a building on top of their entire system. So when you go into their when you drive up to their facility, you would never know that they have a lift station there. So that kind of pointed us in the direction, well, maybe we should be looking at a building to go over top of that to kind of bring it all into the room temperature situation for the processes that are there. So we're looking at that right now. We have estimates out requesting quotes to put a building there. At least start with River and then go to Donald if that is the solution. And so you'll be seeing something coming up in the next little while in regards to that. We looked at other instances, engineered solutions, but they're just potential solutions. And so we're looking a little bit further. So
Because now with the, springtime coming upon us, people are gonna want to be outside.
yes,
During the winter time, everybody's inside. It's less of a problem. Still a problem, but
we have noticed that we've been monitoring the smell there. We haven't noticed any big difference in how bad it is there between winter and summer.
yeah. Well, usually I get more complaints coming up.
In the summer, yes,
So
sorry
something,
to
if
hear
something
that.
could be done
yes.
expeditiously, it would be greatly appreciated by the people there. So
Madam Mayor.
yeah.
Counselor, this is a problem that was inherited by Peter, so it came with the new wastewater system and the RM at the time selected this system as an odor control. First, there was no odor control on there, and then this system was selected, so we used and accepted by St. Andrews at the time, so we've moved ahead with this system and it's not working as it's supposed to. So
Right.
Peter's the problem is inherited, right? So he's met countless times with other engineers to try and solve the problem. So we do recognize it as a major issue.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could solve it though.
So if Stantec was a signed off engineer on it, are they not responsible?
But they're responsible, but I mean, the RM signed off on it probably 4 years ago.
Because Peter said the engineer is not getting anywhere with them.
Yeah. Well, St. Andrews went on site to other locations. I think one location was Calgary and at least a couple other locations where they went on to the system. And, so we're dealing with a set of circumstances that existed, when we arrived.
Counselor Hunt?
So on this one first, but part of the problem, correct me if I'm wrong, is not enough people on the system pushing the product through the system into the lift station through the odor control and then ongoing to Winnipeg because the staying too long in the lines, correct? So if more people on the system, then it moves faster through the lines and because someone that's I think it's 3-4 days or five stays in the system before it moves on. So more people on the system would help that out. So not sure what can be done about that other than having more people on the system to move the product through faster.
But I thought in the last report that system isn't designed for cold weather. That's the issue. It's not whatever was chosen to do this odor control came from California, right?
Yes, it's one of the.
And it's not designed for cold weather.
Yes. The system, I guess the air, as the air moves through the wet well to the biofilter, It's supposed to be within 15 to 20 degrees. And it's always, it's susceptible to, whatever the weather is outside, even though it's an insulated pipe. So it's, however it's been configured, it's not, meant to be, it's not supposed to be exposed to the, outside conditions. But so we've gone back to Stantec, who's the design engineer on that, and they've gone silent on that aspect of it. So that tells me that they are not taking ownership of the solution, the problem. And so we will look for other means to try to find a solution to that. I do agree with Councillor Hunt in terms of partially in terms of I've been told that because there's not enough people on the system, that's why the water coming is has a high concentration of H2S. But that's not an acceptable solution for me. In terms of in any kind of design, you need to take account for that in the event that you won't have 1,800 people signing up and onto that system in a year. So that's an unreasonable assumption on the design side. So we're trying to find some solutions for that. I appreciate the bringing it forward. We are looking at it.
Councillor Hunt?
My other comment is, as we move into our annual high water event season, is it possible to have reports from Public Works to where they are throughout the municipality in the ditch opening, problems, that kind of stuff, maybe even twice a week, because usually when the high water event does come, it's a 7-day cycle rather than a 5-day cycle. So getting the odd phone call about when's the ditch being done. Some have been skipped over. Not sure why, but like I say, if we can get a report, for next 3 weeks or a month during our high water event season, that would be great from Public Works. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's nothing in relation to the issue we're talking about?
No, not at all.
No.
Okay.
No, that's
So it's
already
ad
on
hoc.
the agenda.
Okay.
Any further questions on the administration management report? Sorry. Okay, we'll move on. We have no old business, new business. RM drainage maintenance 2025. Who is speaking to that matter?
Yeah, actually, Justin and I can both speak on it, and Councillor Hunt also. My vision is to have a plan whereas we are opening we're opening or cleaning the culverts and cleaning the ditches of debris. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see some sort of a plan put forward, such as the one we have with the municipal garbage and recycling plan, so we can identify plugged areas and clean ditches where appropriate. I know that this is something that really affects the rural part of the RM, perhaps not so much the densely populated areas.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
No, okay.
Yeah, so just to add to Deputy Mayor's comments there. I've had a couple complaints. I mean, it's going to get to that seasonal time where we're getting the flow is not adequate to the original design of our ditches and drainage. Some of our culverts are either collapsed in the center, there's sediment that's built up, so the flow is inadequate. I think that we should be looking at, instead of a complaint driven, again, I could be mistaken or incorrect in the statement, but I believe that we're focusing on the complaint driven aspect of some of these issues with the ditches. And I think that we could be more proactive, and I don't know what that solution looks like, but to come up with some type of Find whether it's an odd versus even years that we're looking at a region or ward. I agree, Councilor Mondor, that the issues aren't just in the rural or in the agriculture section, but you go through some of the residential streets in the south, and there's ditches that just don't flow adequately or properly and backing up into people's yards. And I realize that some of that is seasonal in terms of the freezing of within the culverts, but some of that is also the condition of the culverts. I've had a couple complaints this week about people's not understanding why certain areas are being the snow being removed from them. They're like, again, I don't know how that works or what roads are selected. Some people like that, this has never been done. There's no reason for it to be done. You're wasting money doing these ditches. There's not even enough snow in here to do that. So I understand both sides, but I think we need to have a plan in place that this section is going to be done this year. We're checking our culverts. We're seeing what needs to be replaced or repaired. If we can look at historical data on service requests, I'm sure that could maybe point us in a direction to say, okay, well, each year we're getting these complaints on this particular area. So maybe there's an issue with culverts or drainage in that section. We could just be using historical data to maybe come up with or point us in the right direction. I think that's kind of all I have to touch on. I don't know if anyone else has.
Councilor, do you have comments on that?
Yeah, I have a few. Yeah. First of all, in regards to Justin's email, Councillor Feeblecorn's email he sent out a few weeks ago about the 3 items. So ditch cleaning and maintenance. So this is very important. We always hear from everybody, even ourselves on council, say there's been no maintenance done on ditches in 50 years. And this is true. All we have to do go back and do culvert to culvert just to regrade them. 5, 6, 7 years ago, we did Ward 4. We spent almost a whole summer in there doing just the culvert ends and then taking a high pressure truck and blowing out the culverts that was the debris in them, because when the mower cuts, they come out of the ditch and don't cut around the culverts. So you get, when the grass dies in compost, it built up around the culverts, which grass cutting, I think, was a lot better a few years ago. They have to spend more time, and when they come to the crossing, stop and back up to it, and when they go back the other way, stop and back up to the culvert rather than just making a wide turn around it. And so with the maintenance, we need to get back and do that maintenance in the ditches. Again, about 5, 6 years ago, we come up with a form, and this form is out there, a drainage request form that the farmers can fill in, come for a drainage request, fill it in October, November, after the harvest, whatever they've had concerns. This gives Public Works a chance to go out and to survey it and to see whether it is an isolated problem or whether it's an upstream problem or a downstream problem. We don't know, and and Councillor Feeblecorn's right. We're reactive on this kind of stuff. We'll go out and do a ditch for somebody, and it may not be the problem. That may not be the problem. It could be upstream or downstream. So this form was purpose of to send out to the farmers, let them fill it out, let them know early winter if we're going to come out and do it. They have to also agree to let them put the mud on the back slope, so they don't seed that 20 feet, and then they're responsible for it, because all that mud come out of the fields anyway through low leads of the field where it drains, and most of them want it back on the field so they can fill up these low holes. Last year there was very little to no ditching done of this sort. The excavator stopped most of the summer. Councillor Feeblecorn can attest to that. They're right across the street from him, even though there's many requests out there to do this work. And even the work that was done on Long Lake Drain last year, I believe, we have a Sycamore to do that with those drains. Let's get into the drains if it's wet and do like we did on Long Lake Drain there. We have the equipment, and work it later into the fall time and get some of them ditches, and even some of the ones that haven't cut, get them done if it freezes up. They targeted on the weed control. We come up with that plan 10, 12 years ago to spray ditches, an odd year and an even year. There's a list on it, and we had seen that list. We have to add to that list for sure, and also be proactive in making sure those ditches are getting done. We heard, if they're not done by the first week of September, it's a hard target that they can't be done after that because the product is not effective. So we have to make sure that they get done. And if they can't, take some of those efforts into our own hands and clear the drains. We talk about a engineered plan for the RM. We have to get back to basics first and get our drains working properly before we even think about an engineered drainage plan. Like, we do have certain areas in the municipality that are a problem around the Lockport Road area and that kind of stuff. And that's some of that stuff you just can't drain sometimes. But getting back in those ditches and cleaning them up from culvert to culvert, we're not changing the design of them. Get a blanket permit for the area that we're going to do. Focus on the major drains first. Even partner with highways or the province in doing some of these ditches. You know, we always argue with them saying, this is your drain, but they're not going to do nothing with it. And we know that. So they're all connected together. So we have to get in there and you know, help ourselves out as well. So like I say, we have to promote these forms that are out there for the farmers to fill in and see why there's an issue with it, you know, and get out there and get started as soon as we can get into the ditches in the springtime. Like, we have those excavators, they don't help anybody sitting all summer long. So that has to change. And even getting back to like we did in Ward 4, the culvert ends, and that helped out tremendously. Mayor Sewell, you were a councillor at that time. We spent a lot of time in Ward 4, which was your ward, doing that and doing those culverts, you know, and that helped out tremendously because some of those culverts were half, you can only see half of them, you know, and then when you did inspect them, like Councillor Fiebelkorn said, they have collapsed, so, or very little flow through it or filled up with mud, you know. So being proactive in areas is what we have to do and come up with a plan. And that was his third point, to come up with a plan this summer. And we talk about money in the budget. All ditching is done through fuel and wages. That's anything in the budget that's for ditching is be to buy culverts, or if we have to rent a piece of equipment, but everything else, the grass cutting, the excavators, is all done through fuel and wages. And I think maybe we need to sit down and look at even to help everybody out and to keep everybody on the straight and narrow, is having a quarterly hour report on these here machines. You know, we know how many hours there is in a week, and there is rain days in there, but you know, at the end of the summer, if there's 100 hours on these excavators, that's not right. We're not doing the public any justice by that. So that has to change. So I think it's got to come down to being proactive and being accountable to get these machines out. And if it's staff that's the problem, we have to work on that. So those are my comments.
Theo, do you have anything to add?
Well, I want to be careful what I say here, so I hear, you know, at the end of the statement there, if it's staff is a problem, so we're kind of saying that pretty loosely.
I didn't say staff is a problem. I says if we have problem finding staff, we have to. Staff we have is great. We you know, but I've been told we don't have people for the machines, so we need staff. So.
Clarifying that staff is okay. I'm glad about that. I'm hearing a couple of things. I'm hearing that I'm hearing on one hand, you know, let's not be reactive, let's be proactive. I'm hearing that we're using a complaint driven system, and we shouldn't be using a complaint driven system, but let's go back and look at historical data based on the complaint driven system. So you know, I'm just trying to gather information. I heard a statement that we're all connected together, and that's correct. Everything's connected together. So if you start moving drainage from one area, you're moving it to somewhere else. So you have to be careful how you do it. And when it's all connected together, you got to be careful about what kind of water we're moving. And, you know, because basically we want to get all our water to Lake Winnipeg. So we want to be careful of what we're putting out there. And saying all that, I think it may be a combination. I'll come back and report to council, but it's a combination on a reporting system. So Councillor Fiebelkorn, when you say that, you know, somebody's phoning you or reporting that they have an issue, to follow that through, and let's ensure that it's getting reported so we can record it, and I think historical data is important. So I've looked around and other municipalities use drainage improvement policies, right? So where you phone in and you say, we have problems here. But then there's also, I've looked at FCM and some of the things that they have. There's master drainage plans. So I think RRM needs a combination of a master drainage plan where we look at areas and reprioritize them, and a complaint-driven plan. So I'll come back to council, and I'm hearing you loud and clear that, you know, we have some issues out there. And the most important thing is when you have issues is having something that your constituents can look at and say, what's going on here, and actually see something on our website or in another reporting area. So I'm looking at a source and on-site controls for municipal drainage systems through FCM, which will talk about the kind of water you're going to be moving around, what you need to look out for. It talks about what Councillor Hunt and Councillor Feeblecorn said about culverts and assessing culverts. We also have to be careful about, it's just not necessarily, let's just get in there with machines and go culvert to culvert. We have to be careful that that those grades are not too low. So, you know, if we're digging out the ditch, you don't want to have a loop in the ditch where the water sits in the middle. And remember that ditches are there to hold water, right? But it's a rural community, and we want to move water, but we want to move it properly. We don't want to move bad or contaminated water quickly into the lake. So I will come back to council at the end of March or the end of April with a plan on how we can address this step-by-step plan.
Would it be wise if we all as council in our areas came up with a top 3 or top 5 you know, roads or ditches that we feel, you know, we've got complaints on, and bring those forward?
Yeah, I encourage council, if you have a top 3, a priority to submit them through the request for service system, submit them in that way, and say, you know, in my views, these are places that are high priority issues. And then we can lock that into, you know, a master plan that we're going to have parallel plans, right? We want to have parallel plans on complaint driven and a parallel plan on scientific data, I'll call it. So your complaint driven are the ones that sometimes those are the important ones, the ones that you as councillors are hearing about. And then the scientific data ones are the ones where, you know, it might be LiDAR data or the data that we go in and we're looking at. So yeah, I encourage that if you have that to send them in, but it's got to be documented, right? It can't be, well, I took, you know, someone called me or I ran into someone, because then we don't have that, right? We have to document it.
Councillor Schleicher?
I just want to say thank you for your answer. I agree with that. And Councillor Hunt, these ditch issues have been going on for the 12 years that I've been paying attention to the RM. So I kind of took by your comment that you're making it this staff and this council's issue. These ditch issues have been around for at least 18 years or more, I'm sure, because I look at my own and I can see what's happening to it. You're all right. We need a plan. I love the idea Councillor Feeblecorn had mentioned somewhere here. Yeah, there's a form, and these places are done and these are up next time. And that way, when someone calls in, we can say, yeah, you're up for 2025 and you're up for 2026. That would make it really simple. And again, digging in these ditches also, you need to remember, there's a lot of cabling now in the ditches in today's world. All the fiber optic run through the ditches, so it's not quite as simple as putting in the bucket and digging out the dirt.
Yeah, that's a good point.
See, and how it was explained to me when Ward 4 was done with the previous public works superintendent. Years ago, somebody would complain about the ditch not draining, so Public Works or a contractor would go and dig it without any plan or looking at the next section. So some areas I know in Ward 4, I was told they have to haul in fill because that's why it's not moving, because it was just done piecemeal instead of a plan.
Yeah, I just want to say, Council Corn and I had a little chat about this a while ago, just together in regards to how do we tackle this on a proactive, not a reactive basis. And now that you're saying that we really can't go ward to ward to ward because everything's tied together, I was thinking, hey, we start with Ward 1, Ward 2, or wherever. You start wherever you want and just kind of work your way back from there. But now that everything, is tied together, that may not be a great idea. There has to be a different way to do it. Because you can't just do one ward, in a year, or a ward and a half in a year and then just leave it. Because when the spring runoff comes again, you're going to be really hooped with drainage issues. So this is a much bigger,
It is, and
much bigger thing to tackle.
See, that's like the farmers told me on Proud Road, when it was all that issue with that culvert put in. The only place it's got to drain is through the Gimli Harbor there. Because all the land's being developed, where's the water gonna go? There's no, there's never lines.
And I know everyone in each ward has an issue with some road, some ditch, some place, and it just doesn't drain. And whether that's because someone's come in there and changed the slope of it, or it's just, it was just poor to begin with. So I know I've got a whole mess here already that I can send into Public Works and say, here's something you can look at.
Councillor Hunt?
So this has been an ongoing problem for every council as far as I can remember and before. When you look at, like I say, and because we are reactive, we went in and dug out that part of the ditch and put it onto somebody else's problem. But so that form that we have, we took that from RM of McDonald. RM McDonald is basically flat. There's not an inch of rise in RM of McDonald hardly. So they have a 20-year plan. They have their ditches. They start 20 years ago and they do 70, 80, 100 miles a year. They put it on the back slope, and then either the farmer takes it or the farmer hires a cat to broadcast it onto the field. So that's why that request is very, very beneficial, because it gives Public Works staff a chance to go out and look at the issue. And when you go back to complaint-driven issues, when did the complaint come in? Was it after a 4-hour rain? Was it or a 4-inch rain over a couple of hours? Or is it always an issue? Similar to what we do with bylaw. Like, how long has this problem been going on for? How many times have you called? Let's get some history on it before we go out and just dig out a ditch. And then with that form, they can prioritize which areas are bad. Because starting somewhere, like I say, the amount of complaints that we get is minimal for the amount of ditches that are out there and the amount of landowners and the amount of problems. So, we can focus on those ones for a year or two to get those out of the way and solved. But when it comes to Public Works, then they can address it. Like I say, some of the problems could be upstream or downstream, backing up onto that mile or half a mile. Councillor Feeble-Corn and I went to the Watershed District conference in Brandon last December. And there's a product there that Brandt makes. It's called an RDK, and it's a portable LiDAR system that you put it on the back of your truck and you drive down the road up to, I think, 50 kilometers an hour. And it gives you the same readings as LiDAR does. And you got to have your ditch cut out pretty, really, really well. And it gives you a report the same as LiDAR does in our ditches from above of where the problem areas are, back slopes and the front slopes and the bottom of the ditches. I give that information to Public Works. They were to call them and set up a demo to come out. A few years ago, we had one bought, and the salesman at that time didn't think it would work. And then he talked to I can't remember, I think it's Trimble, who makes this product, says, oh yeah, that's what it's meant for. It's got enough light beams where you're traveling and it'll shoot through the grass, but also have the grass cut. So there, in a matter of hours, we have the report on miles and miles of ditches. So when someone does call in with a request for service, we have that information. We can go back and look, okay, yeah, in this, 300 meters from so-and-so mile road, we can see that there's a 6-inch rise there, and but that's how we need to be proactive, though. So that, and as time goes on, equipment gets, or the testing stuff gets better and better. And again, I say all this time, we go to these conferences to bring this stuff back, and we bring it back, and so let's look to that. It's called an RDK, and it's expensive, but partner with a couple of our municipalities, like we talked about with the for the lagoon system there. Once you get your drainage done, it's done, you know. But like I say, then we have that information to make an informed decision. But when someone phones in with a request for service, tell them to fill out that form. Then it goes through the proper channels, through Public Works. Our survey crew can go out and look at it, but also ask important questions. Like, how often does this happen? Does it happen every year or only after a rainstorm? You know, that way we're not going out and looking at a problem just because. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hunt.
Thank you.
The CEO gets the idea. He's putting a plan together. Thank you. Any other questions on that or comments on that?
Oh, just one comment. I think what we need to do is also liaison with the province to get those municipal or the provincial ditches cleaned out. If that could be somehow worked into this, then I think that would be a positive thing.
There was online their 5-year plan for all the ditch maintenance. Did you see any of that online?
No.
You know what, I've got it here somewhere. I'll give you the book to look through. They named the ditches and stuff, the drains they're gonna do. We weren't named. Like they did, what was that, Bruno? Where did we go? Parks Creek. Part of it,
We need that drain.
but we're not on it. We're not on that list. But we're also getting all on number 8 done. So I mean, there's 137 municipalities competing for provincial money. But I'll find that list for you, Rob. Okay, next item, municipal garbage and recycling plan. Peter, you're here to, thank you for the report attached. To speak on this, please.
I'm just gonna give some background. So we got some inquiries from a council about the garbage and recycling, and we hadn't reported back, and they hadn't really seen anything on it. But Peter and I are in the process of looking at what we were going to do. So I asked him, and this is only in the last 3 weeks, I said, you know, we're on it, but council doesn't know we're on it. And the residents don't know that we're on it. So we need to come with council and give them an update of where we're at. So this is the start of a program and a start of some discussion too. But we have a pretty firm plan, and you know, we encourage you to give us some input today also.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I just put a couple of slides together, if you want a copy, paper copy, you can have that. So just a couple of slides together, just to give an idea of what I've been doing, I guess in response to getting the curbside collection program underway. So basically, I've broken down, given a timeline for the various items. So I've developed timelines for taking us from where we are today with developing an RFP for the garbage collection, and all the way through to implementation. I tried to build in some other pieces that would be, I guess, important in terms of making sure that we have everything in order. I've been looking at the West St. Paul garbage collection program just to kind of get a sense for how they approached it, and from that kind of developed a timeline. So right now I'm in the process of working on a request for proposal for solid waste collection with the intent of developing a draft and then submitting it to the MMSM, which is the multi-material recycling side of this with the province of Manitoba. And so, eventually any contract that we sign for garbage collection would be transferred over to them in within the next year or two. So I'll be looking for feedback from them. The intention of doing the RFP is really to get costs, to understand what the cost would be, what we would be looking at in terms of bringing garbage collection to the RM. So looking at developing and bringing that back to council so that you have you can make a more informed decision on which way you want to go. So my timeline is really to develop a draft RFP by April 15th and issue the RFP for bids, I guess, for solicited bids from April 16th to May 16th. And then once I issue it for bids, I would start working on the draft bylaw that we would have to implement, I guess, in order to bring garbage collection to the RM. And then have a draft developed by May 1st. And then from May 1 to July 3rd, I'd be looking to have council review the bylaw, go through the number of iterations, I guess, to have it drafted and firmed up. And then with looking for a resolution to support the garbage pickup. And then also that would also coincide with receiving a evaluating bids that come in for the garbage collection program. And so as part of that, also looking for a resolution to award a contract to the preferred proponent. So I would be looking to award a contract to the bidder by July 8th. And then part of that contract would also involve having supply and delivery of bins. So those would have to be obviously delivered beforehand, which is a little bit of an undertaking. And so take delivery of the garbage recycling bins by August 22nd, with the timeline to start solid waste collection by August 23rd. These are all very high level dates. I expect that with the request for proposal will give me help me understand whether the dates are actually real or whether they are completely off base.
Well, it looks like a very good, robust plan.
Yeah.
Timeline. My big concern is public consultation.
Okay.
But I mean, I understand you'd have to contact someone to get prices.
Yes.
Before you can consult public, because that's going to be the big question. What is the cost of it? So where does that fit into here?
I didn't put that into here. My understanding when looking at the file is really that there is a need for garbage collection. Whether the public consultation, I'm not sure whether there would be a lot of benefit to. Are you looking for public consultation to really to see whether the public would want automated garbage collection, or whether to define the area where it would be more important? It kind of, I guess it's really up for discussion.
Well, as a resident, would you like to get a bill saying, oh, by the way, we're increasing your taxes $300 a year for garbage pickup, and they have no say? I can't support that.
Excuse me. So, and we've talked about this, right? Before, and we can build consultation into this RFP. So part of the RFP would go, your costs and your boards, and the information would be done public, public consultation, talking to the public with a professional group that does this all the time. So when you're rolling out a garbage program, there's companies that do this. This is what they do for a living. They would be best to roll it out And I understand, right? You're not gonna move forward if generally the public doesn't want it. And I don't wanna skip too far ahead. I don't know what else you've included up here tonight on your slides, but here are some things that we do know. We know that a program like this could cost $1 million. So council has to keep that in mind. So that's, that's over a 5% increase on the taxes. And it would be about $300 to $400 a year on the tax bill. One of the ways that we could get a quick high-level look at this is to do a survey. So professionally go out there and survey our residents. How do you feel about garbage collection? And maybe we don't even get to the point where we go out and do a robust consultation with public, because our indications are that, people aren't going to want this. Some people I know in St. Andrews go, well, why do I want garbage collection when I burn my garbage now, right? And that's fair to say, right? That's not a bad thing to say. So we could do that. And I'm the one that kind of, I don't want Peter to get thrown under the bus here. I'm the one that kind of tutored him and pushed him down the path of, I think if you all looked in the mirror and thought about this, do you think, council, do you think what the public would say if you came to them and said, we're going to come around and we're going to pick up your garbage now? I think you have a good idea what you're going to hear from the public. Can I get some feedback on that? Do you think
$300 or $400 is extraordinarily high, I feel, because East St. Paul does it for $200. And they go all the way out to Lockport. So I don't know how we're getting a price of $300 to $400.
Well, I'm just going on existing contracts.
And people are paying $25 a month to $30 a month. So, I looked at the East St. Paul one and saw that it was only $200, and I thought that would be palatable for people, given that it would be on par or even saving them a bit of money. I don't think they'd be in favor of something that's going to cost them, $400.
Councillor Slater.
Well, I can tell you, for the last 20 years, I have garbage pickup from a private company, and I pay $200 a year. And he takes away everything. I don't pay extra for any amount of bags. I can have a big party and put 12 bags out. You'll take them.
Councillor Dorfus.
I think we have to also look at what's the benefit of having garbage pickup based on our landfills as well, right? So does the contractor now get a shorter duration in his contract for both landfills? Are we saving on recycling somehow? Are we getting that kickback? Are we doing ourselves a favor by saving more money by having the recycling sent out somewhere? So I think there's just more than just saying it's gonna be $300 to $400 a year. There's a benefit to having it. And what's the cost of that on someone's taxes? Is it gonna drop it down to $150, $200 a year? I know personally, when I take my truck to the dump every week, I guarantee I'm spending more than $25 a month going every weekend to the dump there and back. So, some things you don't think about. Well, yeah, it's costing me $25, $30 to drive my truck there with the 7 kilometers there, 7 kilometers back.
Part of the rollout would be just that cost benefit of talking about savings to the RM on the life cycle of the infrastructure. We would do stuff like, for an example, with wastewater. Part of it is like, if we're bringing wastewater to your home, what are you saving? And we put in, if you have to replace your septic field, it would cost this much. So it would be the same idea here, right? It's what do we think it's costing you now for garbage pickup and that? And we would list those costs, and then we would list potential. Those are hard costs, right? We know what the hard costs are, and then the potential. What are the paybacks? What are the paybacks if we reach different phases of recycling or garbage? What it means, and we would. If we're going to do this, we're not going to do this respectfully, Councillor Slaker. with bags, right, we would want bins. We would roll out a bin program. most likely.
And we would have to pay for those too.
Yeah, that's part of what you're paying for, right, is, you know, and if, but if the will is there for bags, you know, we'll go bags, but, modern day, what they're doing with garbage and recycling is bins right now, right? So, but there's a lot of that, and the public consultation should be rolled out by someone that's doing this for a living, right? Like, they're doing this, they know what best practices are, they know what the costs are, they might already have, deals made with different landfill sites, right? They know about life cycles of this, right? And your bins should be built into the program. So my experience tells me that if you sign up with one company for 3 years, they'll absorb some of the bin costs. Or 3 years, they would absorb the bin costs more readily if you went 6 or 7 years, right? And if they have, your timing is also important. If they're doing other RMs, you know, part of the economies of scale are, okay, this would be good to have St. Andrews on, because then we have backup trucks, right, with other RMs and those kinds of things.
So people hate change, and that's just the way it is. There's people gonna get up and they're saying, oh, there's no way I want this because, you know, I love going to the dump in my truck with the dog every weekend or whatever it is, right? So, at the end of the day, we kind of have to look at, are we starting in the whole RM? Or are we doing a portion of the RM? Are we doing a test area in the RM? You know, these are a lot of questions. You can't just all of a sudden say, okay, we're gonna do a whole RM and here's your $400 a year. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and Peter and I have talked about that, and that would be part of the request for the RFP. We're looking for, you know, what would the recommendations be for, what would it cost us for a total rollout, a phased in rollout, and how would we do that, right? So we would be looking at asking, you know, bidders to tell us what they would consider to do and the costs involved, so.
There's gonna be people, sorry. There's gonna be people against it and there's gonna be people for it. I know I have people for it. And I know that I talked to Councilor Mondor, and I know quite a few people in our boards who are like, yeah, this is a great idea. But there's also the old school who don't want it. And I'm assuming it's either gonna be everything or nothing. So there's not gonna be like St. Clements had, well, I'm gonna go in this year, but I'm not gonna do it next year. They had changed that format, I think, to now everyone has to do it. So that's the safe way to do it, in my opinion, instead of picking and choosing. But
Well, it
again,
divides people.
pardon?
It divides people when
does.
you do that.
Yeah. So interested, you know, I'm waiting to hear, I'm waiting to see, but I would be for this myself, so.
Well, we need some different land Francis. We need different scenarios.
Yeah.
The cost savings
Yeah.
are here, like in the long run, but that's never been in a plan. We
Yeah.
need a
We,
plan.
we want to give council some selection, right? You have some alternatives where you could sit down and look at your alternatives and data, and then you have to, you know, you have to make the tough choices as a council going, we have this data, we have this information from the public, and we know some people, some people will be opposed, and then, you know, it comes down to a decision as, you know, our decision as a council, based on what we know and the data we have, you know, it's data driven. We think this is the best thing to do for the municipality. And some people won't like that, but it's a hard decision that, you know, that's why you're voted in. You're voted into to make some tough decisions, but you have to be thinking, what's your vision, you know, for St. Andrews for the long term? Are we a community that doesn't even have garbage pickup? And I think, Peter, we would be one of the last communities in the province to have it, right?
Yeah, we're the fourth largest RM, but we are one of the last that doesn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. Look at the size of the RM.
Yeah.
We're 33 miles long.
We could improve recycling. We get money back from recycling like Mr. Dornbach says, so I think that's almost $250,000. So if that could be increased.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, the operators at the garbage dumps, if they could be, their wages might be decreased by a little bit because they might not be open. Maybe just on the weekend or something like that to deposit bigger items.
It's proven,
You know?
proven with the recycling blue bins that your recycling will dramatically increase. So if I could put a, you know, as the CAO, put a blue bin in front of all your houses, I know it's a proven fact that people recycle more. And when you have that blue bin, my experience for myself has been, after a week, I look at my black garbage and there's no garbage in. There's 2 or 3 bags of garbage in and my blue bin is full. So I've been to dramatically reduce my solid waste and my recycling has gone up. So it's a fact that your recycling will go up if you have that blue bin in your driveway.
Okay, Councillor Pieblecorn, then Councillor Slaker.
Yeah, just based on what what's been saying here is just in terms of consultation and being very transparent as to, the reasonings for the program and the pros and cons to have that obviously at the forefront here, because just a temperature check for Ward 5, I can tell you I've had probably less than 6 people ever mention garbage pickup. So I don't know what the status or how that is going to come across. So that's why I just think that definitely consultation is number 1 for me, because I don't know what Ward 5 wants.
Councillor Slaker.
I'm on the same road. When I campaigned, I had, out of all of Ward 3, I had 2 people bring up the garbage to me. Most of them were, they hired a local guy or, whatever. I would be really curious to hear, do a survey. If maybe it's something we could put up on the website, just a general click. That might give us a starting place before anybody jumps anywhere. I don't know.
I think we have to do a survey, a German survey to encourage people to
Let us know.
take it,
Tell
right?
us.
And then that will be your first step, and I can come back to you and say, here's what we know now initially with our first outreach to the public. Maybe it's dramatically like go away. We don't want this, and maybe it's somewhere in between, or maybe it's looking good. Yeah, that's something we'd be interested in, right? And when you do a survey like that, you need to do this, you need to lay it out right? You just can't go and ask one set of questions and think that's going to give you your answers. So I think we could do something professionally that's not too costly.
Okay, I would love to see that.
And I think this might spur some economic development as well if we have this, potentially.
Sure.
I think, developers might see this as a positive thing for our community if we had something like that, so.
Councillor Hunt, do you have comments?
I do. Could we get the gallery screen back, please? So thank you, Peter and Brent and Mr. CEO for the information. That a couple of things that was said, like I had said last meeting about we go to these FCMs, we've been to the SWANA conferences, big cities, Saskatchewan or Regina, Calgary, have switched to recycling over to every week and the garbage pickup every 2 weeks, and it's been successful. With the private pickups that we have now, they're not picking up the recycling, and we have done a solid waste study of our own. We have that hard facts that the solid waste coming into the landfill from private citizens and private haulers could be dramatically increased with what's in the garbage flow that is recyclable. The hauling costs that we haul those bins to Winnipeg is, again, over $250,000, probably close to $300,000. It doesn't even offset the money that we get back from the province. So those are all numbers that have to be included to offset the cost. And I don't doubt it probably would be $300,000 to $400,000, but then probably half the cost would be offset for what we're paying other areas now. And like I said, I'd be the first one to support some of the money at large from the municipality, because we don't have to redo a cell. I had mentioned before, St. Clements is open for business. They're in the business of taking from other municipalities. We have to get that cost as well, so we're not filling up our landfills to spend millions of dollars in building a new cell. And probably when that happens, the regulations will be even greater, so it makes even more of a cost to it. I know St. Clements, when they did their costing for their garbage pickup, their tipping fees are included in there, even though it's their own landfill, because if you're filling up your own landfill, you'll still have to expand it in years to come. So these are all questions, like I say, that has to be asked. You know, because if you drop 1 week of garbage pickup, that's a big cost too. And the recycling that you're picking up, that's money you're picking up. So, and the bins wouldn't go away at the landfills, but they'll go away at the airport and at the fire hall because they'll have pickup. So it's a great start. Thank you guys, and continue on. Looking forward to hearing some more.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything further? Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Jack, for working on this so far. Okay, next item, for notice, so Lisa can respond. Our meeting is April 3rd in West St. Paul. Who would like to attend? Councilor Mareki, I will be able to attend. Councilor Hunt, you'll be back?
I'll attend, yes.
Okay. You attend?
I don't think we'll be able to attend this one.
This one I'm free, so yeah. The three of us, okay. Thank you, then we'll have a resolution at the next meeting. Next item is Selkirk District Community Foundation. It's the 2024 St. Andrews Fund Statement. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? On the St. Andrews Fund? Okay. We have no in camera. Adjournment. Be it resolved, meeting be adjourned at 6:31 p.m. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconded by Councillor Feeblecorn, all in favor.
All right.
This is carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Take care, everyone.